Well, we're getting more and more done on the rat rod. The flywheel is off, getting resurfaced or trued, getting drilled for a 10-inch Mustang clutch and pressure plate, and the 4-speed top loader is getting a new tail shaft bushing, which it needed. Hopefully I'll have that stuff back before the end of this week. In the meantime, I did a little work on the motor. I cleaned the heads up. They were planed a little bit, and I had to clean out some of the holes in the thermostat housings. These were both stripped, so I turned them out to 3/8 instead of 5/16. The other side's okay at 5/16. Those aren't stripped. I still need some heater hose plugs also. I'm going to get those from Speedway. Put block studs in with a special sealant. These studs, these aren't bolts, these are studs with nuts on them and special washers. The studs, you have to clean out each one of the stud holes in the block because they go into the water jacket of the block of the motor. And you can't allow water to seep up through the studs because it'll rust everything and it'll seep into the head gasket area and might create a leak. You don't want a leak. So cleaned out all the holes. There's 24 studs on each head. Put sealant on the bolts. The top ones are longer than the bottom ones are. There's a little method to the madness here. Put my head gaskets on, my Felpro head gaskets, sprayed them with aluminum paint like everybody does to create a seal. Slid them over the bolts, slid the heads down, and then started putting the special washers and the nuts on. And then you start torquing them down. Start at the middle and work outward on each side. You want the 30 pounds first. These are fine thread nuts, and 30 pounds on a fine thread bolt is a lot of torque. It's a lot of tension. It's not like tightening down a bolt with coarse thread. You have a lot more leverage advantage with a fine thread. And then final is 45 pounds all the way around, starting from the center and then working towards each side. And there it sits at 45 pounds. I've got to put plugs in it yet, and I've got a wiring kit. Also, I prepared the distributor. This is my Mallory Unilite. This is a brand new unit made specifically for a flathead, for a flat motor. I had to mount the distributor gear on the bottom of it. It comes with a gear, but they don't mount it. Mainly because the shaft they give you is about 3/4 of an inch too long. But that's too long for a purpose. It's too long so it can be mounted in a truck motor, which has a little different timing case on the front of it. The cover is made a little bit different. They tell you on the car motor you've got to cut off 3/4 of an inch, and then using the little wear washer and the gear, you have to drill it and pin it, and that's what I've done. I've drilled and pinned the distributor drive gear in place so that that's what's going to spin the distributor. And that fits in place. This is the head boss flange area. When this slides down in place, of course the rotor has to point at number 1, and we have to figure that out yet. This area slides down and positions on that head, and then I have a clamp that goes in that hole that clamps this in place. And you merely rotate this to set the timing. Once it's in place, you tighten that clamp up, and then you cannot turn the distributor. The distributor won't turn. It'll stay wherever you put it. We're going to mount plug wires on this. We'll be 4 going this side, 4 going on the other side. That pretty much completes that. What we need now are my flywheel back, which I sent out to get it trued. We bought a 10-inch Mustang clutch and pressure plate, a diaphragm pressure plate. That's getting drilled for that and balanced, and the tail shaft bushing and the 4-speed. Now we're going to put it all back together again. And here's the bell housing. This is the one that was in here. I painted it Ford blue, make it look a little better. Also, I had to order a starter plate. And you don't just order a starter plate. You go on Craigslist or eBay and you hunt and you hunt and you hunt and you hunt. And found one in Denver, found one in Erie, Pennsylvania, found one in California. The best one I found, I thought, for this particular application, for this bell housing. This is a 52 Ford bell housing, V8 manual shift bell housing. And I found a guy in Erie, Pennsylvania, a couple hundred miles from here, that has a bell housing just like this. And then he said he may also have the starter plate and the clutch fork. Well, I've got a clutch fork. but I don't have a starter plate, and I can't mount a starter without the plate. The plate goes on the bottom half of this bell housing. It's like a dust shield, but it has a starter boss with 2 threaded holes in it that the starter slips into and bolts to, and that's what holds the starter in place. I've since ordered it, and I'm waiting for it. It'll probably be here either day before or day after Thanksgiving, if things go right. And then hopefully we can get this all back together again and put it back in the frame for maybe the last time, maybe not. In the meantime, I've got some work done on the frame. You can see a big pair of bug-eyed headlights up here and some shock absorbers. I fashioned these plates up and these weldments, and I welded shock tabs and auxiliary tabs on it and bolted them to the existing bolt holes of the front cross member. Made a sandwich, put a little longer bolts in there. And those are 1/2-inch stainless bolts with lock washers and nuts. This mounts the front shocks. We used the original lower mounting position that I had on when I had it on the 32. This is in the all the way up position. There's no weight on it, and that's basically where you start from. This will go down probably 2 inches anyway, and we've got about 4 to 4.5 inches of travel to work with. So it should be somewhere in the lower portion of its compressed length, but it should be about where it needs to be, especially for cornering. This will keep it from tipping. Take a little sway out of it. The way they're inboard. That's called inboard mounting. The top's inboard. It should, and these are adjustable shocks. They have a little mechanism on the bottom. You turn with a screwdriver, and they got clicks like adjusting a scope. You can tighten them up so them shocks are just stiffer than a board, if that's what you want. But about halfway up is about where you're going to need them to keep this thing steady. I bolted the motor mounts in with a 1/2-inch bolt just to be on the safe side in case a weld broke. That goes into the inside frame boxing section. That's all bolted in place and clamped. And I notched the firewall up about another inch. I wanted it up just a little bit higher than what we had it. It was just coming close to the bell housing, and I felt as though I could raise the tail shaft of the transmission a little bit higher than what I'd been, looking at. And I needed room to get the bell housing up. If I pull the tail shaft up, the bell housing is going to come up a little bit. I think I have that room. When I raised that, I merely slotted the ends and then bent that flange in, bent that 1-inch flange in to create a bolting surface for wood floorboards. So it kind of did 2 things. Create wood floorboard and a place to bolt it, and it gives me more area to mount the bell housing. So that's about it for now. We're waiting for parts. The old game, hurry up and wait. Once we get that unit all back together again, we're going to back the Mercury out, and we're going to back this out, pull that motor up in the air with everything on it, and then set it down in here, probably for one of the last times. In the meantime, what I might do is I'm going to have Jake prime a lot of the frame rail area that we're not going to have access to when we get that motor in there. That'll keep that from rusting. Not that that's a big concern, but it'll look a little better. I'd rather have it looking primer than looking complete rust, even though it is a rat truck. I only go so far as a rat goes, so that's about it for now.